Welcome back to the Relationship Mentors podcast. Today we are on episode 34.
Wow, 34.
It's getting there. I know. We've been so consistent with this and we're so glad that everyone keeps coming back and re-listening to each and every episode. Today we thought we would make the podcast episode a little bit different, and we are going to be talking about feeling lost and finding yourself in your 20s and 30s. We're going to go over what they say that you should be doing compared to what you want to be doing, because it's like there's so many things that you're told in life of what you should do, and then once you're experiencing it, you're like, I wish I did my own thing of the thing that I was actually wanting to do, because I would have ended up in a different place than I am now. And so this episode, instead of giving you guys advice, we're actually going to go through these questions and answering them as if we were giving ourselves, our younger selves, this advice. So hopefully you guys listening to this, you can get your own thoughts and opinions, take the advice that you're wanting to hear, but this is really just advice that we would have given our younger selves and really getting our thoughts and opinions on adolescence.
I love that. And so often we talk about relationships every single week. And the thing about relationships is every area of your life impacts your relationship. Like if you're feeling lost in life, if you're feeling confused, sad, anxious, that's going to have such an impact on your relationship. And growing up when you're in your 20s and 30s, like there are so many external influences on your life telling you to go in every direction. You got your parents telling you one thing and they grew up in a different generation. You got your friends doing things and you're comparing yourself to your friends. Then you see people online doing these crazy things and you should feel like you should be doing that. So yeah, it'd be cool to reflect on our own experience growing up and going through moments of feeling lost and feeling found and ebbing and flowing through that.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just go into the first one straight away. And the first dot point that we want to touch on is feeling the pressure to have it all. So I feel like with this one, it's like I remember being like 18 or 17, graduating high school and being like, okay, I need all the decisions I make right now are the decisions I'm going to have for the rest of my life. So it's like, and having the mentality that like by the time I'm 25, every life decision I've made up until that point is going to be the rest of my life. Like for some reason, I thought my life ended at 25 and it would just repeat every single year until I die, which is really interesting because obviously that is not the case, but it was so interesting how ingrained that was to me. That it's like, I have up until 25 to have everything I've ever wanted in life, because after 25, it's over.
Yeah,
it's done.
You're set in place. You're married, you're having kids, and then you can't make any decision after that. And I felt that pressure as well. I'm sure everyone does, of feeling like you need to have your life figured out by the time you're like 21, 22, when you're changing from education to the real world and everyone else is getting their life figured out. They go into jobs, they're saving up for a house, they're getting into long-term relationships, and you're like, oh fuck, am I being left behind here? Because you're comparing yourself to everyone else and it's so easy to do that. And you feel like every decision you make, there's so much pressure on it for it to be the decision and that you can't change your mind in the future. It's like the biggest realization I had was how easy you can just change your mind. And you can change your life in a single day, in a single decision. You can go a different direction in life.
I love that so much because I feel like I was trying to figure out, where did this originate from? Like, where did it really come from? It's like, I don't know if it was the pressure from like being in school and like the high school teachers being like, you know, you have to get good grades because you have to get into college and or university, and you have to do this and you have to do that. Otherwise, if you don't go to university, you're not going to be successful or you're just going to be like a deadbeat person. And it's so extreme. However, there's so many different ways to go into uni if you're wanting to do that. And there's so many ways to be successful without going to university or TAFE or college.
Yeah, like all your life growing up, it's like be a good boy, be a good girl for mum. Then you go into little school and you're like, be a good boy, be a good girl for the teacher, so you can get into big school. You go into big school, be a good boy, be a good girl, so you can get into high school, and then get good grades so you can get to university. Do well in university so you can get a good job. Do well in your job so you can climb the ladder. And just you're constantly being fed this carrot in front of you that you should be doing this thing. And so many people
be that good person, like good boy, good girl.
Yeah,
mentality.
And you never question your own thoughts. You never question your own direction because you're constantly being led forward with this carrot in front of you, being like, this is what you want. This is what you want right here. You have to do this to get this because everyone else is doing this and this is what you should be doing. So everyone just follows this path unconsciously. It's like a sleepwalk through life. And then this is why you get midlife crisis. People wake up at 45 and they're like, fuck, I didn't choose any of this. I didn't want this life. I've got a wife I hate that doesn't sleep with me. I've got 2 kids that are annoying. I hate my job. I hate going to work. I don't speak to my family anymore. I haven't got any friends left. It's like, fuck, if you just chose your life, if you woke up in your 20s and your 30s and actually chose the direction you want to go in, it'd be such a difference.
Yeah, it's like actually realizing, are you choosing this? It's like, are you wanting this because you're choosing it? Or are you choosing it because you feel like it's the choice you're supposed to make because of the programming of you need to be a good girl, you need to be a good boy and do X, Y, and Z.
People forget you've got your own values, you've got your own beliefs, you've got your own direction in life, you've got your own thoughts. But so many people forget about that and they just adopt the values of others. They adopt what they think should be important. They adopt what they think should be their direction.
And not what's actually important to them or the direction that they want for themselves.
And this ties back into us speaking about ourselves. Like, all I cared about growing up was making more money than the people around me. I grew up in a super small town and it was such a competition of who could get the house first, who could settle down, who's doing better than who, and in everyone's business. And I tied my self-worth to money so much through that stage that I just followed what would make most money rather than what I actually wanted to do. So I just stayed doing the same thing, the boring things, the path that was laid out in front of me. I had such a clear path to make this money, to buy houses, to start businesses, to work a job if I wanted to. But I'd never questioned what I actually wanted to do. And then I found myself on the other side of the world in Australia, and I felt like my life had ended, but it actually had just begun.
Well, yeah. So I remember on my side of things, just being in high school overall and having teachers obviously keep saying, you know, you need to do well in school, you need to get good grades, but then also having an older sister who was very academically smart and did get all the good grades and did get the scholarship to go to uni and was academically very smart in that sense. And then not being that myself, it's like I got good grades, I passed. However, I didn't care enough to be getting straight A's or to get into uni, nor did I want to go into uni, but I felt the pressure that I needed to, especially that I had a sister who got a scholarship, and then I felt like I needed to get a scholarship as well, not that I was close to getting one, to, I don't know, to do something with my life or like be deemed as successful in the eyes of my mum or like the people at school or the teachers. And then realizing, and then from there I was like being in grade 10 and then starting my diploma in beauty therapy because I didn't know what else I was wanting to do, and I felt like I had to have a career path and choose a career path when I was in grade 10, and that just led me to go into doing a whole degree that I was interested in but I don't use now, and then getting a qualification in hairdressing because that was like my weekend job through high school. And I'm like, oh well, I need to get some type of certificate out of this, so I got my full-blown hairdressing certificate, and again I don't use that now apart from like doing it on friends, but it's like things that I just genuinely didn't enjoy. And if I didn't feel the pressure that I needed to have everything put together, and the decision that I was making when I was 15 was going to be my career choice for the rest of my life. It's like something that I definitely don't use now.
And this goes into the next point, career confusion. It's so often the case that I always thought when I enter this job, this is going to be my job forever. Like, looking back, I wish I could tell my younger self, everything is just stepping stones, and you get to choose at any point to leave, to start doing something else, to find a passion in something and actually pursue that. And that every job wasn't the end all. It was actually just a stepping stone to where I wanted to go. And that would have made me so much happier in life. Because I remember working hospitality jobs. I was thinking, God, this is so shit. Like, is this my life? I'm just working this hospitality job, making minimum wage, feeling shit. And the only reason I was upset was because I couldn't see a life past that. I could only see this job. But once you see it as a stepping stone to something greater, you actually start enjoying it. You're like, this is serving what I want to do in the future. Even though I don't know what I want to do for the future, what I do know is it's not this. So you get to choose.
I really like that mentality because it's like even when I was in like doing those degrees, even when I thought about changing or like altering, like I'm so unhappy like working at this job, and when I thought about changing jobs, it was just a like the same job at a different place, like at a different hairdressing salon, or doing hairdressing but having
You're
my
boxed
own
into that
business.
stuff,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like I was still looking at it through a lens of, okay, well, this is my qualification. Let's just do a slight stepping stone, like to
the
a
smallest
slight
thing.
degree. But in reality, it's like you can actually completely start from scratch again. It's like I went into marketing then, and then I've been in marketing for the last 6 years, and then coaching. So it's just like you can really just start again. And then the best advice that I do really see out there is have your 20s, like late teenage years and 20s, of just trying all different jobs, like just trying all different types of things, because you're still just like figuring yourself out. You don't know what you like and don't like yet. Just because you made one decision at 15 doesn't mean you should be having every other life decision
Lead on from that.
Yeah, lead on from that. And that was my mentality for so long. And I was like, well, I have to do this because I made that decision. And I feel like when I look back, like at 15 years old, thought that was the rest of my life.
Yeah, you really get to choose, don't you? It's like whatever you're passionate about, and you don't know what you're passionate about at the start. So it's like, do shit, go experience life, go traveling, move out of home, move to another city, and then you'll find things you're passionate about. And that's one of the biggest advice I'd give is like move away from home quite early, just so you find your independence, you find your sense of self.
You find your own voice in that as well.
Because your sense of self is wrapped around your family and the people you grew up with since you were a child and the people you always see on a day-to-day basis. But when you move away, you get to find your sense of self, your independence.
It's also the fact of like when you've grown up with these, like your family members, for example, they have this perception of you because they've known you for so long. And then when you are wanting to make a change or alter, it's subconscious to them, but they're keeping you in their perception, like in the box that you've always been into them, because that's the way they've always perceived you. Does that make sense? Yeah, I was like, if you do something that's out of the blue for you, they'd be like, oh, that's not like Charlie. Why'd you do that? And like they mean it out of love, but then it is that criticism that you do go back into your box. And that's why we do always recommend, why you always recommend to like leave home, go out there, like find your own voice. Especially like going back to what we were saying before, it's like you can really just start from the beginning with your career or just with anything in life. When you start doing that more often, you actually start to build, well, what I've really found is starting to build a lot more trust and reassurance in yourself that no matter what happens, I can start again. Or I know that I can do this because I've gone into a whole different career and I've succeeded in it and it's been great. Like I know that I can learn things. I know that I am dedicated. If I'm wanting to learn something new, I can learn something new. You just build so much reassurance and self-certainty.
Yeah, and nothing's that important. It's like everything's important and nothing's important at the same time. And can you hold those two extremes? It's like, can you realize, yes, it's important to get a good financial backing behind me and be serious and be working towards something. And at the same time, none of that shit matters. It's like everyone's going to die at the end of the day. Not at the end of the day, but end of your life. And we're a bunch of organized chimps on a spinning rock in the middle of nowhere. And that's an idea I always come back to of like, nothing's that serious. You don't have to have your life figured out. You don't have to put so much pressure on yourself. People have this bias that everyone else has their life figured out except for me. I'm the only one that has, I've got all these worries in my head. I'm not sure what I want to do for the rest of my life. Or my bank balance isn't great. I haven't got that many friends. I'm feeling a bit unfit. I miss my family. But everyone else is great. Everyone else is so fine. Everyone's happy on social media. When I walk down the street, everyone's smiling. I haven't got my life figured out, but everyone else has. And you can feel really lonely in that, right?
Yeah. And just like bringing more awareness to that literally everyone is still figuring it out.
Nobody
Even
has
like
it
the
figured out.
50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, they're still just figuring out what they enjoy.
Even your mum and dad, like you look at your mum and dad as such a solid structure of they have it figured out. I can always rely on them. But they're just making it up as they go as well. Like it's their first time at life as well.
Yeah, I love it. Let's go on to the next point, which is relationship challenges. So 20s to 30s.
Yeah, in my 20s and 30s. I was in a long-term relationship from 16 to 23, so like 7 years. And I always thought I couldn't imagine life outside of that relationship. And my identity was formed around that relationship a lot, especially growing up back home. I was known as like the Charlie in a relationship with this girl. And I just grew up around that. And I couldn't imagine being happy outside of it. So And looking around me, seeing long-term relationships, like from a small town, everyone just settles down. You find someone that's available and you kind of like, and then you just settle down and you build a life with them. And coming out of a relationship at 23, I thought, I will never form a connection as deep with anyone else. No one will know me as deep as this person. And then you actually start dating. You're like, oh, wow, I'm not going to die. I will be okay. And then you find someone to form a deep connection with, and you build that connection really, really fast. So that was my idea of relationships. It's like, it's okay to leave a relationship. You don't have to be with the same person. You can have time single.
Yeah, and something that we do see a lot as well is like when people are in long-term relationships for 7+ years, like even like I would say 4+ years. And I always say like congratulations, because it's like you just know that they're going to go through so much growth, because obviously at the end of a long-term relationship there are so many beliefs that are being shattered along that journey. Because like
growing up together.
Yeah, through those 4 years or plus, you've built so much connection with each other, and you're still, obviously everyone's still discovering the world and discovering life each and every day. So 4 years to 7 years together plus, you've learned and you've created so many new beliefs in that time frame. And then with that person away from you and no longer in your life, you actually get a new hindsight on the situation and the belief, and like, was this actually your belief, or was it your partner's belief and you've experienced that together? Or like, are you actually a hermit and enjoy being at home, or did you just enjoy spending time with her or him at home, but now that you're single you actually do love going out and you do love socializing with a big group of friends? And so you're just getting to experience life again in a different view and then recreate those beliefs. So I really do like when those separations do happen, because they just have a whole like quantum leap into the next version of them.
You just go into so much uncertainty. That's what I felt going through that breakup. I just moved to the other side of the world, to Australia, in a city for the first time, didn't know anyone, and my ex was my sense of home, like my sense of safety and security. And then letting go of that and just going into the void of uncertainty and feeling a bit lost and lonely. It's like, that's where I started to create myself. That's why I started from square one and started to rebuild the life that I wanted and the identity that I wanted. So it's such a great opportunity, breakups. I speak to so many guys on a daily basis that are going through a breakup, and I never say I'm sorry to hear. I say like, I'm excited for what you do going forward, because you have so much energy to create the life you want.
Exactly. And I feel like with relationships as well, I guess when you are looking at different aspects of people in their 20s and 30s, there are some people that are like serial daters. What are your thoughts?
Define serial daters. Just short-term relationships?
I would just say not even short. Yeah, I would say just like people that are going on dates after dates after dates, but it's never going like past 3 dates with the same person. So maybe serial
But
date.
they want a long-term relationship? You don't know. I think dating's great. You get to meet people, and it's what intention you're going in with. You can use dating as trying to feel good enough about yourself by sleeping with women, or you can use it as I really want to find the person. And then you get to filter out and like meet a lot of women or meet a lot of guys and figure out what you do like, what you don't like, say yes to certain people, say no to certain people, and just figure yourself out through that. So I think dating's such a big personal growth piece for people.
Yeah, it's like when I look back, and if I was to give my younger self advice about relationships, my younger self, it's just very much like, do not date the potential, date what's already there. Because a lot of the time you can be like in like 20s to 30s, even now, it's like you could meet someone and you're like, okay, this is eventually, like I'm dating for a long-term relationship, to get married and for that person to be my husband. And then you're dating him hoping that he ends up being like, oh, my husband does this, this, and this. But it's like, does your husband do this, this, and this? Or does the person you're with do this, this, and this? Does that make sense? So it's like, sometimes you can be dating the potential of, yes, I really like this guy, and I've always known my husband is going to cook me breakfast every Sunday morning. It's like, does your partner right now do that for you? do you think when you marry him, he's just suddenly going to do that? Because that's what happens a lot of the time as well. Or it's like, oh, I just knew I'd be with someone for 2 years and then they'd propose to me and then we'd get married. So have you ever communicated that with your partner, or have you just assumed and then expecting it to happen without that communication?
People stay in relationships way too long because when we're good, we're good. But when we're bad, we're bad. I hear that on a daily basis. It's like people are in relationships and they're in love with the potential of the guy or the girl or the relationship. It's like, I know we could be good, but fuck all's happening to make it good. And it's like, how long is that going to play out for before you ask for help, before you leave the relationship? It's like, just because a relationship has potential doesn't mean you have to stay in that relationship if it's causing you so much stress and nothing is changing.
Yeah, and at the same time, you also don't owe that person anything. I think that's something else that we do see as well. Because like when they say, oh, but they haven't done anything bad enough for me to end a whole relationship over it. It's like,
And they feel bad for leaving relationships.
Yeah, or feel like they owe the partner something. Like, you owe your partner the truth if you're not happy and fulfilled in the relationship, and you're not wanting to do the things to make it a fulfilling relationship.
Yeah, you get so many signs from your body, like, maybe I don't want a relationship right now. If you are having those feelings and the person you're with seems like a great person and they've done nothing wrong, but you're still getting that feeling of not wanting to be with them, it's like maybe your body's just telling you that it's time to break up, it's time to be single for a little bit, it's time to have some adventure in your life. And this comes back to feeling lost in life. It's like when you stop listening to yourself, you will feel lost. You will feel like you're living someone else's life. You'll forget what you actually want in life. You'll take on other people's thoughts, beliefs, values, and you're just living a lie. But when you actually tune into that little voice inside your head, the like intuition, not just the monkey mind, like the intuition in your heart and your gut, and follow that as guidance, or faith or God or spirit or the universe, whatever you believe in, if you follow that thread, you're probably going to feel a lot more fulfilled in life.
I love that. And then also I love, like, going back to what we were saying just before, it's like feeling lost and finding clarity, but also what you should be doing versus what you want to be doing when you're looking at relationships. As soon as people get into a relationship, the timeline kind of feels like it's supposed to be, we're dating and then we get engaged and then we get married and then we buy a house and then we get a dog and then we have kids and then we have another kid and then we have another kid and then we retire. It's like, it feels like we're supposed to be going on this timeline, but in reality, it's like, you don't have to do any of that. You could just be dating someone for the rest of, like, the one person for the rest of your life, and never get married, never have kids, never be engaged. It's like, that's you do not need to do that for any reason or feel the pressure to do that.
And the people that have all these things sometimes are so depressed and they never wanted this life, or they thought they wanted it and then now they regret it and they're not happy anyway. It's like, and some people are extremely happy in that as well. It's like, everyone is so different. It's about checking in with you and seeing what you want. Like, strip away all the external shit. What do you want? This is what I wish I told myself. Like, what do I actually want in life? Cool. I want freedom to create something in terms of business. I want a life partner that supports me in that. I want to be healthy. I want to have a good group of friends. Cool. I'll create that life instead. I won't just go down this prison of trying to create shit I didn't even want. So it's like stopping, checking in with yourself. What do I actually want? And then stepping in that direction instead.
I love that. Okay, so the next point is financial stress. What advice would you give your younger self?
It all comes into feeling like you have to have it figured out, feeling like you're behind. Just because you haven't bought a house yet, just because you haven't secured that big job yet, like, doesn't mean you're behind. Everyone's on their own timeline. And with the opportunity this day and age of creating abundance online, for example, like, you can make money doing whatever you want these days. Like, whatever you're passionate about, there is a monetization opportunity in that. You can create income from whatever you're passionate about. But people chase the money by getting into shitty jobs just because they pay well, and they end up depressed. And whatever money they make, they just spend it all anyway because they're depressed. So it's like, I feel like the first step is always coming back to you and what do I want, and start making money in that way as well. And also being financially responsible. Like, ideally, put some money away. Invest into a index fund or something. Like, start making that early. Like, if you're 18, 19, 20, start putting money away, even if it's $10 a week, even if it's $5 a week. Just start something.
Yeah, it's like when I look at this and look back at my younger self, it's like when I look back, especially in my high school years, I I was just so unhappy in high school. Like I didn't like the life that was there. Like I love my life so much more, and my life is so much better now that I'm not in high school and living at the Gold Coast and just like living a life that I actually want. And I remember like I wanted to be so far out of my current reality where I was living in high school that everything I was listening to, all the motivational speakers are like, in order to be successful, you need to make sacrifices. You need to like not go out with your friends and not do this and not do that. And you have to work to make all this money. And so that's what I did. I didn't go out with my friends. I didn't go to birthday parties. I always chose work over everything. If I was ever asked to go to an event and I said yes, but then I was asked to work, I would cancel and go to work. So I would always choose the option that made me money. And at that time, when I look back now, like I could have gone to a lot more things. I could have decided to take 3 hours off of work to go to my friend's birthday and things like that. However, in reality, it's like those decisions helped me create the life that I have now. It's like I was so unhappy with that reality that working made me feel like I was a step closer out of that reality. Like even when I look back and I was hardly being paid anything for those hours that I was working. Like looking back, it's so financially like wasn't worth it. However, I think mentally, for my like mental health, it helped me feel better in the sense that I was making a decision that made me feel like I was a step closer out of my current reality.
And you can make money in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And get in the right vehicle. Like look at what makes good money that you're passionate about, that the world needs, and then move towards that. There's so many opportunities. Like if you're feeling lost in terms of career, start researching online. Start looking at what other people are doing. See what you can get into and start working towards that. So yeah, I'd say that with financial stuff.
Yeah, I just feel like there's so much money is always going to come back. There's always going to be a way to make money. It's just like the time with your friends or with that particular person in your life may not come back again. That's because I sacrificed so much of my, like, I started working when I was 12 and I just sacrificed so much of like 12 to 23, like so many outings, so many events that I could have gone to because I just wanted different.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Don't let money control your life. Like control your money. Don't let money control you. If you're constantly chasing money, then money's controlling you. But if you're broke, money's also controlling you. So it's like having that balance of being financially stable in life, setting that up, and also being happy in life. Like don't just being a slave. Stop being a slave to money.
Yeah, I think projecting to like making the decision in like 5-10 years time, if I look back to this decision, would I regret choosing it? Would I regret choosing to save that $50 and not going out for dinner? Would I regret not going to spend time with my best friend on her birthday? Would I regret not going to work just because I was tired?
Fuck, I remember times in my youth, like I was the same of just wanting to save money, never wanted to go out, never wanted to do these experiences because I could save that money, I could invest it somewhere, I could get ahead. And I was just constantly chasing, and that's being a slave to money. Whereas there's times in my childhood where I went to that music festival and I went out drinking with my friends and we did that random experience. We went on that random holiday, and those experiences will live forever. And we can make money like that. Like when you get in the right vehicle, you can really make money fast. But it's like those experiences when you're younger, when you have zero responsibilities, when you're single, when you're still an idiot, when your brain's not fully formed and you're still hanging around with your friends and you still have a lot of friends close to you. It's like, take that experience, go do that thing.
And even now, like even if you're in your mid 30s or
do the
20s,
thing.
it's like, still creating those memories, because even when I look back at the last like 10 years, a lot of the people I was friends with, my friendships have just evolved and I've moved places. And so it's like, even that they're not currently really close to me in life right now, those memories are still so great to have with them, and that I've experienced those memories with those people.
Yeah. Let's go on to the next one. Mental health and well-being. I feel like feeling lost in life is very heavy for mental health. I've gone through so many periods of feeling completely lost in life, and a lot of sadness comes along with that because you feel like you have a lot of potential inside and you want to put it towards something, but you have no idea where to put it towards. So it can create stagnation and frustration and then sadness and then just feel like you're floating through life. So I totally get it with the feeling lost piece. And what has helped me personally is coming back to the small habits, making sure I go to the gym, making sure I hang out with people, making sure I speak to my family, making sure I look after myself still. And it's like through that, you will find something. Nothing lasts forever. Like these feelings, it will pass. So when I'm feeling lost in life, I'm able to zoom out now and be like, okay, I'm feeling lost. And not get wrapped up in that, not get carried away. Just be like, cool, I identify that. I can see that. And this won't last forever. So I can really zoom out. Same as feeling like day by day, I can have the best morning, then feel depressed at nighttime. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? How did that happen? But then just zooming out and realizing you can ebb and flow. You can have great times and bad times, and that it won't last forever. It will change.
My favorite thing that I like is like you can have good moments and you can have bad moments, but they're just moments. If that makes sense. It's like, I love to say, it's like, I've had a great day. I just have had a bad moment in the day, and don't let that consume the rest of my day or the rest of my week or the rest of my life.
How has your mental health been when you felt lost in life?
I feel like the biggest time that I felt lost was definitely through school, but then it comes back in and out at different levels and in a different way throughout life as life progresses and flows. But my biggest thing is like, since I feel like it's different to yours because you said that you would get back into your habits, which is very important for mental health now that I look into. However, what's really helped me growing up is like I always had this mentality that I had to work hard for things, anything worth having, I had to sacrifice and I should be punished to be able to, like, I should
struggle.
Yeah, I should struggle. It should be painful. It should like upset me and I should lose something that I really enjoy, whether that be peace of mind, relaxing, or
time, relationships.
Time. I thought I had to sacrifice all these things in order to get something that I desired or wanted, whether that be, and at that time it was out of my current reality into like having financial freedom. And so even just like having that so ingrained in me and feeling like that I had to be somebody else and living life through other people's eyes, of feeling like I had to do this in order to please other people around me, and actually realizing that the choices I was making wasn't for me. It was the choices I thought other people were telling me that I should have made or should be making. And then the biggest breakthrough point of that was that I had achieved all these things that society had deemed to be successful, but I was so unhappy. Like I was so just not happy. I thought, if you do all this thing, the line or the progression of what society says will deem you to be successful, you'd just be happy, you'd be successful, you'd be thriving mentally, physically, like in all areas of life. But in reality, I could have just been thriving on paper. I was thriving on paper. Mentally, I was not thriving whatsoever. I was still so unhappy. And then it's like, if I'm this unhappy now, being with everything good on paper, let me actually just start making a decision that I actually want to do. And if everything goes upside down, it's like my mental health can't get worse than it is right now. And then choosing, it's like, okay, for a whole year, all I decided was to do the thing that makes me the happiest. It's like, if I could do this option A or option B, I would just go internal or check in with myself. It's like, what option would make me the happiest? And that was the start of my journey of learning to get to know myself, if that makes sense. Because like for so many years, when you're constantly not choosing yourself, and then people are saying, you need to learn how to love yourself, the self-love movement, like get to know yourself, self-awareness. It's like, to actually start that feels so out of touch.
So far away.
Yeah, so far away. And it's only in hindsight, when you actually have self-awareness and you're actually aware on what you like and don't like, you realize that you didn't know what you liked and didn't like when you were living for other people, but you can't conceptualize that until you've experienced the opposite. And so it was just constantly choosing with the decision, do I actually want to do this? Is this going to give me energy, or will I feel like my energy is being drained from going to this event or doing this thing? And then just simply asking myself that, will I be happy like after I go to this event? Will I be happier or sadder? And then going from there.
Yeah, like no amount of external shit will make you happy. Like you're never gonna escape yourself. Like no matter how much stuff you accumulate, you're always gonna be left with you. So choosing what makes you happy rather than self-abandoning yourself for this external shit is probably the way to go, I'd tell myself.
Yeah, it's just like you just need to be proud of the person that you are when no one else is around, with no one else telling you that you're doing a good job or how amazing you are. It's like, are you happy with you? Are you proud of the person that you are?
It's like success in life for me is being excited to get out of bed in the morning. And when I'm alone, I'm happy. It's like when I'm sat on my own, I can smile. I can be grateful rather than constantly wanting more shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. And the last one is self-discovery and personal growth. I've always had this drive when I was younger. When I was like 18, 19, I think we were the same thing. We would watch, like we were on opposite sides of the world in small country towns. I was in Wales, Mia was in Australia, in small country towns. But we were seeing the same shit of like Ty Lopez ads on Instagram, Gary V, Grant Cardone.
It was on Snapchat back then.
Yeah, people like that.
And then YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. I've always had this drive of doing something like this. But I was in a small town and no one else I knew of was into personal development, had heard of these entrepreneurs. So I felt so lonely in that. And I remember the time when one of my friends, Eros, came up to me. He's like, bro, I noticed you follow Gary V on Instagram. Like, are you into that sort of stuff? I was like, yes, I am. And then we started like, that deepened
That's
our
where the friendship came.
That deepened our friendship so much more. I was like, oh my God, someone else around me is also driven in this area too. And then, yeah, from there, just been obsessed with it. And I let life get in the way for many years, but I've always been obsessed with doing something more than the ordinary, like making money online, finding a passion, just doing something different, you know? I just didn't want to do the same shit as everyone else.
Yeah. And I feel like, I don't even know if it's just because of the people that we're around now, but it feels like everyone's into that.
I
Of like
know.
wanting to do something different. But
It's
then at
so
the same,
normal now, isn't it? That you just feel normal.
But then at the same time, it's like when I meet up with some other people not in our area,
Yeah.
it's like they still are very much the cookie cutter. This is the right way to do life.
Yeah.
So
A lot of rules, a lot of
yeah,
shoulds,
it could just be
have
the
to, need.
Circle that we are around. But I do feel like personal development has skyrocketed the last like 10, 15 years, which is amazing. And I feel like self-discovery and personal development, I feel like it's just, again, in your 20s, in your 30s, in your late teens, should be the time that you are doing that. I feel like it's something that constantly is always happening. Like you and I have both always been driven to just
like
learn more,
as soon as you
more.
open the box to that, nothing is the same. I feel like once you become aware of your shitty behaviors in relationships, you become aware that you're not living the life you want to. You can never unsee that shit.
I think, yeah, my biggest thing is like the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, or the more things that you know that you don't know. When you aren't learning new things, the more, when you're not learning things, you can believe that you know a lot of things, but the more things that you learn, the more awareness you have of the things happening in the world, or
that you don't know.
Yeah, that you aren't aware of, that you're not an expert in. And so I feel like that in itself just gives you so much more awareness and so much more humility, like humbleness.
It's like the things you know, which is like 0.1. Then there's the things you don't know, which is another 0.1. And then there's the things you don't know that you don't know, which is like 99.8% of your life right now. And it's just like exploring that area rather than just staying in your own like ignorance.
Yeah. So I feel like it just gets me excited. And I feel like this is a topic that you and I just both naturally love to learn more about. And I feel like once you start getting into personal development or just like in self-discovery, you just start continuing. Like
Yeah.
there's just so much there.
And if they're listening to this podcast, like they're well into the personal development journey, so
Yeah.
it's really, really cool. And yeah, I love doing an episode like this, not just talking about relationship stuff, but every area of your life fits into relationship. Like your personal development, your personal growth plays such a massive part in relationships. Like a relationship is built up of two happy people. Like that's what makes a really successful relationship. So you prioritizing yourself is the best thing you can do for your partner.
I love that.
Yeah. Amazing. And Mia's 28. Are you 28 weeks pregnant?
I thought you meant 28 years old. I'm like,
No, I'm 28. I had my 28th birthday 2 days ago, which was exciting. 30th
that
of
was a great way to bring up your birthday.
Flex. And Mia's 28 weeks pregnant
Yeah.
at the same time.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's really cool. But yeah, I'm 28 weeks pregnant. The bump is bumping. It's
The bumpy
really,
bumping.
It's getting really big now, which is great.
It's so sweet.
I feel pregnant now. Like I look down and I look pregnant, where before, yes, my stomach was bigger, but it wasn't this like round, like what you see in the movies or like outlines of a pregnant person where they have this round belly. It's like my belly wasn't round yet. It was just big. So that's exciting that it's getting round and looking like I genuinely look pregnant. Like a stranger could look at me and like, yep, she's pregnant.
Yeah. Oh, it's so sweet. And then we're having a little girl and she's kicking all the time and we can talk to her and she's super receptive. It's so sweet. I love it.
How was your 28th birthday?
It was great. I didn't plan anything, but I had a really great day. I was social. We went to watch sunrise and then hung out with mates. We do sprints every Friday, which is exciting. So hung out with a bunch of guys there, and then we went for ice cream, but we didn't end up getting ice cream. We just went to hang out with friends in the evening as well, and it's just really, really nice, just being around people and just appreciating our friend group and who we've got around us.
Yeah, we've had a really social last couple of days, and I think it's just been really wholesome. Like, I really loved it.
Oh, it was really nice.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much. We release a new episode every single Monday, and we're excited to see you guys next week.